Welcome to The American Outdoorsman, America's premier hunting and fishing radio show. Join our hosts, Tony George and Mark Tobin, as they explore the finest fishing and hunting adventures with the industry's leading outdoorsmen. Stay tuned for great tips and techniques that will enhance your experience in the great outdoors. And now, let the adventures begin.
The American Outdoorsman radio show, where men are men and women are inflatable.
Wow. That's bad.
Isn't that bad?
That sounds like something that our regular host, Tony George, would say, but he's not here, and you don't sound like Tony.
Well, I was getting in the Tony mood, and that's why I came up with it.
That's pretty good.
I am Scott Bethel, sitting in for Tony George, who is still on assignment because of this March Madness thing.
It is mad. It's crazy.
This whole tournament thing. He just finished covering the Big 12 tournament, and now we are in the middle of the big one, the big dance.
In my opinion, the best sporting event in our country.
Oh, it's huge.
In the world. It is.
I did the math, and it was like just over 60 games in that time frame that are going on.
It's such a great format. I wish that football could come up with something like that.
Oh.
Our producer's over there affectionately patting his chest, which says Kansas Jayhawk basketball.
Oh, I thought he was giving himself a treat there.
Well, that too.
But Tony, we mentioned he's on assignment. If you'd like to see his alter ego, along with being the host of the American Outdoorsman, this fine radio broadcast, he also has a sports handicapping service, sportsaudioshows.com. And if you want to see what's going on in the NCAA tournament, that's a good place to go check it out.
That's right. You need help in your Sweet 16, your Elite 8, or Final 4, or championship game to make a little lettuce on the side.
Oh, cute.
Then
go green.
SportsAudioShows.com.
And Dave Caius, our producer, who's your pick for the championship game?
I'm sure you've studied this from every angle.
You mean there's somebody else other than Kansas Jayhawks playing?
Well, as a matter of fact.
They put us in the hardest brackets, though.
Isn't that unfair?
They did.
The only two teams that beat them are in their bracket.
I know.
I'm in trouble. Look at this.
This is a bracket that we're looking at.
Tony George gave me this, and he said, it's the office pool. You're in whether you like it or not.
Yes, I've already donated my 20. Now, why would we bet against Tony?
Honestly, I have never done one of these.
I have not either.
And I'm looking at it going, oh, my God. What am I supposed to do?
You printed this. You're supposed to do this on the computer.
Well, no. They sent me an Excel spreadsheet. And anybody who's dealt with those knows that they're not meant for printing. It's like I'm going to have to get tape and put it together. It's a mess. But I'm going with
pick Southeast Arkansas State to win it all.
Texas. Texas is going to get hot.
I'll bet you. I'll put $20 on that.
We can do side bets on that one.
And that voice right there, you failed to introduce.
We didn't introduce anybody.
You introduced yourself.
Hi, I'm Scott Bethel.
Come on, get with it here.
And Mark Tobin is with me. Of course, you know who he is.
Yay.
He's here all the time. And joining us in the studio is Rod Clark, our pro staff coordinator, co-coordinator. Is that what it is?
Something like that. And I actually looked at all Tony's picks before I left his office today.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to get a little inside track. I didn't want him charging me for it.
Yeah.
I actually asked him to call in the show. He laughed at me.
No freebies with Tony.
Yeah.
Not even for us.
But so it's basketball time, and, honestly, I don't watch any of the games unless it's the championship game.
Even with the NCAA tournament? You got to be kidding me. Really?
Not really.
I mean, that's the funnest part, these first couple of rounds, especially the first round. Isn't that the best part about this tournament? The chance for these the Cinderella stories, the little-known colleges to come up against the Goliaths, and the chance for an upset. Isn't that what's so intriguing about this whole thing?
It's the purest sporting event out there. Everything else has all these red marks against it, whether it's steroids or whatever they come up with every other month. But the NCAA tournament is one of the best sporting events to watch.
Yeah, these guys don't write up, obviously.
Well, and the first day is just, and the first 2 days, the first weekend is just, I can't wait to watch them, and I can't wait to hear the news on who the upsets were.
Well, I like to hear about the upsets, but
I like hearing teams like Richmond, Bucknell, Rhode Island. Dave, ever heard of any of these teams?
You mentioned Bucknell again. I'll throw you out.
Bucknell just a few years ago upset Kansas in the first round and said, bye-bye.
That's the night I told you the story one time on our show about how I had to do a comedy show in a bar 20 minutes from Lawrence, Kansas, right after the show ended.
Oh, and everybody was, of course, in a great mood to be entertained.
Have you ever performed at a funeral before?
Yeah, I was going to say, that'd be more like performing at a wake.
It was horrible.
Too bad for you.
Yeah, thanks.
So sorry about your luck.
We've got my buddy Rod Clark here. He is an avid hunter, and we're getting toward the end of our goose season. I've got a trivia quiz for you for our goose expert. Now, I wouldn't expect you to know. Maybe you will know all these, but if you don't, that really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you can hunt geese successfully, because you are a very accomplished hunter, and if you look at our website, written a number of articles that are extremely educational as well. So anyway, how much fat will a goose lose during migration? Is it 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, or 4 pounds?
4.
1 pound.
That's what I meant, 1.
You were close. How much further can a goose fly by flying in a V formation? The V formation, we know why they do that, because it reduces drag for the geese behind the lead goose.
Okay.
So they can fly further. Can they fly 40% further, 50% further, 75% further, or 100% further?
75?
75% further, that's right.
That's until they fly over my decoys, and then it stops right there.
That's right. That migration got cut a little short.
Yes.
Okay, how far can a goose migrate in one season? 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles, or 5,000 miles? Unless they come over you.
I'm going to say, was 3 a choice?
3 is a choice.
I'm going to say 3.
3 is right.
Yeah.
Very good.
I really didn't. You didn't show me these.
No.
Okay.
No, you're just right on. I knew you'd know a lot of these. What is the highest altitude that a goose can fly? They can fly as low as 25 or 30 feet in good weather, and they average around 3,000 feet. But to avoid bad weather, how high can they fly? 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet, 8,000 feet, or 9,000 feet?
I'm going to go 9.
9,000 is right.
Wow. Woo!
The goose man.
Look at Scott's face. He didn't think I knew this stuff.
I guess you've been goose hunting.
A lot of the ones I see are at 9,000 feet.
Which one of these following is used as a repellent on goose? Grape Kool-Aid, fox urine, hedge apples, or mothballs?
Or Rod's cologne.
Or my cologne. Mothballs?
Well, mothballs, they're just so hard to collect them. Those moths are hard to catch.
It's hard to get their little legs apart.
So, no, it's not mothballs. It would be...
Leave the comedy to the professionals.
Wow.
It would be grape Kool-Aid.
Grape Kool-Aid.
Grapes have an enzyme in it that causes their stomach to burn.
Ooh.
And
mine too.
How often do geese poop? 3 to 4 times a day, 10 to 15 times a day. You've heard the term, like, crap through a goose.
Right.
Okay, 3 to 4 times a day, 10 to 15 times a day, 25 to 30 times a day, or every 7 minutes.
Ooh. C?
Actually, this is a little bit of a trick question. It's C and D. They average 25 to 30 times a day, but when they're feeding, it can be as much as every 7 minutes.
I had just paused. I was going to say and D.
That's right.
So, see, I got them both.
So, anyway,
well, I'm not too bad.
Now, can we talk some fishing?
Sure. Who do we have on the show today?
We are going to have coming up next.
Should we not say anything because we don't really have a
well, it depends on
confirmation?
It's whether or not we can get his cell phone connected on the lake that he's fishing at. But it is none other than America's favorite fisherman, Mr. Jimmy Houston.
Yeah, Dave, edit that out if we don't get a hold of it. So we're going to be right back after this.
Yeah, so if you're hearing this, Jimmy Houston will be up next.
Some days I don't know if I'll make it by. Price of diesel's getting mighty high.
Visit the best of the outdoors every night from your living room on the Pursuit Channel. From whitetails to turkeys, bass to blue marlin, the most exciting action found anywhere happens right here. Catch Mossy Oaks Inside the Obsession, Scent Blocker, and the Drury's Natural Born, Bloodline with Alex Rutledge, and more. Channel 240 on Dish, Channel 608 on DirecTV. It's on every subscriber's basic package. To bring Pursuit to your cable network, visit PursuitChannel.com. Pursuit. It's a way of life.
Hello, Mark Tobin here to tell you about my favorite grill, the Carson Rotisserie. The Carson is a sleek metal briefcase that unfolds into a portable, use-anywhere, 7-skewer rotisserie grill, allowing you to cook for as many as 50 people without having to watch for flare-ups, flipping food, or maintaining exact temperatures. The Carson rotates food over the heat source, self-basting the food using gravity to work for you instead of against you. You can learn more about the amazing Carson Rotisserie at theamericanoutdoorsman.com.
God bless the American dream. This is Ted Nugent, and I'm celebrating my Blood Brother Campfire at AOAdventureClub.com. If you and your family want to have a great quality outdoor adventure in this great United States of America, be sure you check out AOAdventureClub.com. And if you get a hold of AOAdventureClub.com, you will be on your way to celebrate the spirit of the wild. And come join our campfire at TedNugent.com, and we'll celebrate it together. God bless the spirit of the American wild.
Any hunter knows it takes knowledge and skill to be successful in the field. Add to that having the best equipment, and you've got a winning combination. Redneck Blinds can give you that edge when it comes to hunting from a blind or stand. They feature a high-quality weatherproof design, a solid fiberglass shell that won't crack or peel, whisper quiet features, and large tinted automotive glass windows. So if you're looking to make your hunt more fun and rewarding, look to Redneck Blinds. Spring is the perfect time to set up your very own Redneck Blind. Check them out at www.redneckblinds.com.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Welcome back, everybody, to the American Outdoorsman Radio Show. And joining us on the phone right now is definitely one of my idols. He is a legend in our business, and he has been known as America's favorite fisherman. He is definitely my favorite fisherman. He's Mr. Jimmy Houston. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from y'all.
Well, I got to tell just a quick story. I got to come down and fish with you on your private lake. It wasn't last summer. It was the summer before. And, you know,
as a matter of fact, yeah.
Here I was getting to fish with, as I said, a legend in our business and my favorite fisherman, and I was giddy. I just was so excited to come down there and do that with you. And so on the way down there, I stopped at Lake of the Ozarks and picked up my boat and headed down to your place. And Jimmy was already out on the water fishing when I got there with a buddy of mine. And so I got my cameraman. We hopped on my boat, backed the boat down into the water, went to start up my boat, and I had no key. I left my key at Lake of the Ozarks. You talk about...
Then you should never take your key out of your boat. If somebody steals it, you know, they won't be able to use it.
That's right. You talk about one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me in my life. But I tell you what, Jimmy, that day of fishing was without question and not even close. It was the funnest day of fishing I have ever had in my life. What is your cameraman's name? Pat, that's right. How could I forget that? You may have done this before. If you haven't, you need to do this. But you need to have a separate boat that just follows you guys around and films you and Pat. I have never seen two funnier guys in my life. You should go on tour at comedy clubs, just the two of you.
People are a little bit weird.
So tell me what you're doing today.
Well, as a matter of fact, I hate to tell you this, but I'm fishing.
What a surprise.
As we speak, I'm throwing a little roadrunner out there, catching a few crappie, mostly bass, though. We're really not catching very many crappie, mostly just catching bass. Some pretty nice ones, but it's a little slow. Fishing's been pretty good, but it's a lot slower this evening than it has been, I think, because that north wind's been blowing for about 3 or 4 days. You know, we had a couple, 2 or 3 days of south wind, and the fishing was turning on, the water temperature was coming up, and doggone old man winter just won't go away. Of course, cured global warming. Now we're all going to freeze to death.
Are you down in Oklahoma?
I'm in southern Oklahoma, yeah. It's about 60 degrees. It's not bad, but you know, it should be about 70 or 75 right now. You know, spring's only a week away.
It doesn't feel like it.
It's supposed to snow this weekend, you know, in a lot of places.
Well, they're calling in the Midwest. They're talking about some snow. Did you have as long a winter as we've had up here in the Midwest?
It's been horrible everywhere. You know, I was down Saturday I went down to Roland Martin's 70th birthday party down in Florida, and it's been so cold down there that a lot of the peacock bass died. Of the snook, I mean, by the thousands. A lot of the snook that was in the inland waters, and you know, a lot of the Oscars and just all kinds of those tropical type fish that need warm water died down there. And he lives in Naples, Florida, so it's been bad everywhere. And, of course, it's flooding on the East Coast right now, and I'm ready for springtime.
Well, worse than I can ever remember. Are you still fishing tournaments?
As a matter of fact, I am fishing a few. I fished the Table Rock tournament over there a couple of weeks ago, and I'm leaving early Thursday morning and driving to North Carolina. I'm going to fish that Lake Norman FLW tournament. I'll probably fish. Last year I fished 3 tournaments, and I think this year I'm going to fish probably 4 on the FLW tour.
Do you have any plans on retiring from tournament fishing?
Well, at some time I'm going to retire. I don't know when. Tried to for 3 or 4 years, and I just can't. I fish on the Chevy team, and I got to be honest. You give a redneck a new Chevy truck to drive, and he'll pretty much do anything you ask him to do.
Jimmy, I got a question. When my dad retired, he retired so he could spend more time fishing. What are you going to do?
I'll fish and hunt more. That's not bad.
You don't do that enough already?
I don't. You're right. I don't.
So tell me about your television show now. Is this 22? How many years have you been doing it now?
Well, yeah, it's hard to believe, Mark, but it's 33.
33 years.
Now, this is year number 33, and we're showing on several different networks now, including Versus. And, Versus, of course, a really large network, but one of the things that's happened to Versus in the last 6 months is that the DirecTV and Versus had some disagreements over money, I suspect, but Versus has not been on DirecTV for the last 6 months, but just went back on yesterday. So all of the folks that's got DirecTV, that of course our show is on in-country television on DirecTV and also the national religious broadcaster, but now we're back on Versus 5 times a week there on DirecTV also. So that was good. We were really glad to hear that. It went back on yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's great news for people that haven't been able to catch your show on there for the last 6 months.
News for us because I've got DirecTV at my house. So.
Well, yeah, I do too, and I haven't been able to see you here in a while.
Yeah, I've been missing Bill Dance and Roland Martin. That's what's really been hurting.
Mentioning them, when I saw you, when we fished together, now it's been a year and a half ago, you were just toying around with the idea of doing a Legends tour. You and Bill Dance and Roland Martin, and have you pursued that at all?
We really haven't, and I think that'd be fantastic, and what we were talking about was obviously not going around giving fishing seminars, but going around and just, getting up on stage and just kind of, sharing a lot of funny stories and experiences and things that's happened over the year, more of an entertainment tour as opposed to anything else. When you look at Roland and Bill, and like I said, Roland just had his 70th birthday party actually we were there Saturday for it, and then Bill Dance will be having his in October this year, and I am several years behind those guys.
You sure look it.
I want them to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, you keep reminding them.
When you look at those 3 guys, that's over 100 years of outdoor television, which is pretty remarkable. And I'm sure that those 3 shows are in the top 10 of television shows for longevity of all time, in all kinds of television, not just outdoor programming, but of all time. And I know that our show was on ESPN for 21 years, and it's, I think, the 3rd longest running show ever on ESPN. So, that's a lot of television. It really is.
Well, looking back, and once again, if you don't recognize this man's voice, then there's something wrong with you. This is America's favorite fisherman, Jimmy Houston. 33 years of television. I mean, in all of those years, do you have any particular events or television shows that really kind of stand out in your memory?
Well, actually, we've done hundreds of shows over those last 33 years. Some of the most memorable shows are the ones that we did with our kids and our grandkids. My daughter, when she, was like she's probably 11 or 12 or 13 years old, caught her first really, really big bass, about a 7.5-pound bass on a white spinnerbait. Just a remarkable deal. The largest fish that I've ever caught personally, a 13-pound, 1-ounce largemouth I caught with my wife, Chris, down in Lake Hanna-Bonilla in Cuba, and it was just a great thrill there. Of course, we've got to fish with people like President Bush, the governor of Oklahoma, the current governor, Brad Henry, several other governors, and politicians and famous people, and all kinds of entertainers. And that's kind of one of the neat things about doing what I do for a living, not only getting to hunt and fish, really more than what anybody ought to be allowed to do, but at the same time we've got to run around with a lot of really, really great people, and I've got a lot of great friends that are love to fish and hunt, and that are just great friends. You know, Ricky Medlock called me last night. Ricky's one of the original members of the Leonard Skinner band, and he just got back from a 2 or 3 week tour in Europe, and was calling, talking about, the fishing down in Florida. He lives in Florida, and it's just kind of neat, all of those neat people, athletes and stuff that they make a living doing things that have made them really famous, and a lot of them extremely wealthy, of course, but they love to get out here and fish, just like all of us ordinary folks, and that's what's so cool about it.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
A few, we've written 3 scriptural books. The last one, called The Catch of a Day, is a 365-day daily devotional, and it's still an extremely popular book and awfully good. We'll probably write another one at some point in time, but the last one I wrote, it took me 5 months to write. I don't use I write all those books on yellow pad, so it takes quite a while to get them done.
Does your wife, Chris, does she still fish any tournaments?
She's not fishing any tournaments. She still goes with me, and she went over there. We got to practice only one day for that Table Rock tournament, but that day was, about 20 degrees in the morning and got to about maybe 35 or 38 that afternoon, and she was still out there practicing. She'll go with me to Lake Norman. We'll leave Thursday morning and drive all the way over there, and then she'll practice with me. That's actually the first tournament that I'm going to get to practice all 3 days in quite a while, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting over there and fishing, and hopefully we're going to get springtime sometime. It's almost the 1st of April, and we're still talking, cold weather and cold north winds and possibilities of snow.
Unreal.
Really, really crazy things.
Well, Jimmy, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about your energy drink and one of your new sponsors, the U.S. Reel. And I saw something else neat on your website I want to talk about, the honey hole tree. But anyway, we'll be back right after this, folks. Don't go away. We got more visiting with America's favorite fisherman, Jimmy Houston, right after this.
The American Outdoorsman radio show, where you're going to get guests like we have right now, Jimmy Houston, who's out on the lake right now fishing. Hey, Jimmy, I wanted to get your impressions on one thing. What do you think about this explosion with collegiate fishing?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I've got to meet and fish with a lot of those kids. We've got teams here from Oklahoma University and Oklahoma State University. I've met kids from all over the country, and I think it's fantastic. Charles Goodlow at Carico, who produces a lot of outdoor shows, actually kind of started that college fishing deal, and their organization is going good, and now BASS is involved with some college fishing. FLW has college fishing after every one of the FLW tour events, and I just think it's fantastic. It took me 4 complete years to get through college, and if I'd had been able to fish on a college fishing team, I might still be there.
I'm with you on that.
Those Texas A&M kids, I might have spent 9 years in college.
Hey, Jimmy, you've got several different products that you sell on your website, and one that I have taken and I dearly love is the energy drinks that you have, the Turbo Power and Extreme Energy. We just got done, one of our guests, our pro staff members, is in studio with us today, and he got a very popular other brand and took one of these shots over the weekend during a barbecue contest, and it looked like he had a migraine headache within about an hour after taking this stuff. I mean, he looked physically ill. This thing upset him so bad. Tell me a little bit about your energy drinks.
Well, the one thing about Turbo Power All Day Energy and Turbo Power Extreme is that it's extremely healthy. It's very, very good for you. As a matter of fact, if I drink one every day, and I'm kind of like the guy that didn't have any hair, He said he's not only well, that's me, and I drink one every day. My wife drinks one every day, and it's got all the vitamins and minerals that you'll need in a day's time. In fact, more actually than what's in pretty much all of the vitamin pills that people take. And not only does it really keep you alert, mentally alert, and it hydrates your body, helps. It's got an ingredient in there for mental clarity. It's just an extremely healthy energy drink, and we sell it at all the Bass Pro Shop stores all around the country. Sell it at all the Pilot stores. Quite a few other places. Those are 2 places where any Pilot store you can buy our All Day Energy and any Bass Pro Shop. But anybody that tournament fishes or gets out on the highway and gets a little run down, sleepy, it's the ticket, and it's only 2.5 ounces, so it it's not a big energy drink that, is loaded with sugar and caffeine and stuff. It's one that especially blended to be, not only keep you really mentally alert, but to be good for you every single day.
Well, I've tried the other ones. It's usually when I'm out driving to another lake, and it's early in the morning, late at night, and I've gotten tired. I've tried most of them, and the one thing that is different about yours than any other one that I've ever tried, I don't get that jittery feeling, and I don't have a crash a couple hours later.
It's actually designed to keep both of those things from happening, and it's got about the same amount of caffeine as a small cup of coffee. But that caffeine comes from green tea, so it's a very healthy caffeine. It's a half caffeine that's actually good for you. And it doesn't have any sugar, it doesn't have any carbohydrates, so people that are diabetic or people that's on the famous carbohydrate diet, which I go on about once every couple of years maybe, and lose about 20 or 25 pounds, get back to my fighting weight. And then, I can go ahead and take drink one of those every day, and it doesn't, it doesn't affect that diet at all because there's no carbs, no sugar in it.
Well, take my word for it, folks. This is fantastic stuff. You sell this on your website also, don't you?
We do. As a matter of fact, on JimmyHouston.com, TurboPowerEnergy.com, either one of those websites. And we send out quite a bit of that, too. It's kind of like eggs are cheaper by the dozen, People buy them, in a dozen packs or buy 2 or 3 or 4 dozen a month, something like that.
Well, once again, we're visiting with Jimmy Houston. And, Jimmy, we had an article in the local paper here last week talking about how difficult it is becoming for professional fishermen to find sponsors to go out there and fish the tournament trail. The economy's hurt everybody in a lot of different ways, and it's affected the bass fishing world, the fishing world in general as well. You've got some really good sponsors. I noticed that one of them that you just got is US Reel. You really like these reels, don't you?
Well, I really do, and you're right. The industry is a little bit more difficult than it's ever been, and probably one of the reasons is the boating industry is down because a lot of people still want to buy boats, but they're having a little bit more difficult time, or a lot more difficult time right now getting financing. And so, with the boat industry down, for someone like me or anyone in the outdoor, television show business or radio show business or tournament business, for a boat, you're talking about a boat and a motor, a trolling motor, a locator, power pole, and then, in our case, we had an insurance company also. And when the marketplace falls off like it has, it makes it, you 6 or 7 really main sponsors there that, those guys are hurting. They're just not selling the merchandise that they were selling. But yeah, we moved from Shimano to US Reel after we were with Shimano for over 30 years. So they make tremendous products. They still make tremendous products, but US Reel right there out of St. Louis, they've done some stuff to sort of revolutionize the fishing reel business. In their casting reels, they got what I call the wave bar, seesaw wave bar level wind that works as a level wind without an eyelet, so it cuts down all the friction in your casting, and those reels will cast so much farther and so much better and pitch farther than any reel made, and they're very value conscious too for this type of economy we're in right now. The reels start at like $79, and I think the most expensive one's $249. So they're tremendous reels, and their spinning reels, they've sort of revolutionized the spinning reel business in the last year or so by going with the large spool. I think that probably everybody's going to copy that large spool because that's not something I don't think that they could patent. But a 2.3 and a 2.4 inch diameter spool on a small frame spinning reel, and it eliminates probably 90% of the problems that you have with a spinning reel.
Wow.
The little pigtails and having little tangles or loops in there just pretty much is non-existent. As a matter of fact, if an individual will, when they cast that spinning reel out, if they will close the bail manually by hand, which is what every good fisherman does, as opposed to turning that handle to click it, you eliminate 95% of the problems you ever have with a spinning reel.
True.
They work remarkably with no problem whatsoever.
Well, we've been talking with Jimmy Houston here. Jimmy, we're out of time, and I feel really bad about that because Mark was telling me about the honey hole, and I really wanted to hear about that. Is there any chance we could get you back on in the next month?
I tell you what, y'all, I'll be happy to visit with y'all anytime. Y'all some of my favorite people, and I'll just visit with y'all anytime you want. We've got a couple of things happening that's going to be real exciting. I know we're out of time, but we'll have an iPhone app, a Jimmy Houston iPhone app for record keeping that is remarkable. It'll be available April 1st. Anybody's got an iPhone. And then we've got some news we'll be sharing probably within the next 30 days about a new network where a person can download all of the fishing shows through the internet and yet watch them on your television. It's got some technology that they're working on right now, and probably within 30 days we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more.
That is fantastic.
Visit with y'all anytime.
All right, Jimmy, we will be back a hold of you to talk about some more things, but right now we've got to cut to a break. You've been listening to Jimmy Houston on the American Outdoorsman Radio Show.
You're listening to the American Outdoorsman, America's premier hunting and fishing radio show.
I'm turncoat number 58 of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I am the American Outdoorsman.
Welcome back to the American Outdoorsman Radio Show with me, Mark Tobin, along with our producer, executive producer, nonetheless, Scott Bethel. Also joining us in the studio is our pro staff member and chef extraordinaire, Mr. Rod Clark.
Hey, what were you guys doing this last weekend?
We were cooking in a barbecue contest.
Our first time cooking together, and actually, well, my first one of the year. Generally do about 10 or 12 of them a year.
And this was not weather meant to be barbecuing in?
No, this is the reason that I never do that contest at this time of year, because it's usually windy and raining and cold, and it was all three.
All three.
No, well, then why did you do it? Was this just to break Tobin in?
No, he doesn't need any breaking in. I just got the barbecue itch.
Thanks for bringing in the leftovers, by the way.
How'd it go?
We failed on that miserably, didn't we?
You know what? For the first time out, and considering the conditions, we took 30th out of 109 teams.
Whoa.
Which isn't bad. I think our highest category, we took 15th in chicken, and which is usually the one I score the best in for some reason. I don't know why.
Well,
but,
and I did something we should never have done. I took a brand new cooker out there to experiment with, and that's not really the time to experiment with a new cooker.
Not broken in.
No, not at all.
Thanks for bringing the leftovers.
Yeah.
There's an echo.
Yeah.
No, but we did pretty good for our first, for the first one of the year. So about 10 or 11 more to go. We'll have it down.
I did learn something from those boys. The way they present their food is just, they're artists with the way they present the food. It's amazing the things they do. They don't allow you a lot of different things that you can use to add into the box other than the meat. Some parsley, lettuce, and
green leaf lettuce, and that's about it.
That's it. But boy, the way they put this stuff together, it's just, you almost hate to even eat it. It looks so pretty in the box.
I was watching a barbecue show on TV, and I had this moment where it's like they were talking about, no, you've got to take it off well before the presentation because it's going to continue to cook.
Right. And then you're judged on presentation. I mean, that's a third of the judging. I mean, if you could have the best tasting food in the world, and if you just throw it in a box, you're not going to score well.
Okay, so that would explain your 30th place. Throw it on a bun.
But we'll be back.
That'll be
smarter and stronger.
We need to keep tabs on that throughout the season.
Yes.
See how you guys do and listen to Dave.
We'll be happy to judge it,
You guys are always invited. I mean, we had a blast the night before. We fried up some catfish. And
I didn't want to admit this, but that could be the whole problem with what happened on Saturday. We had too much fun on Friday night.
Was it kind of like a tailgate party?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was about a 11-hour tailgate party.
Saturday morning came up, and Rod got me up at 7. I slept for about an hour, and he woke me up and said, man, you got to get your meat on the grill. And I was like, I don't care. I just want to sleep. Leave me alone.
I even forgot about that because I was gargling like Foster Brooks as I went to the van door. I'm like, you have to get up now, Mark.
So, yes. So what else have we got going on this segment, Mr. Executive Producer?
I understand we have some news items from the great outdoors.
Did you hear about that proposed fishing ban? I started talking about this about 2 months ago. I heard a friend of mine called me up and wanted to know if I'd heard about this proposed fishing ban, and no, I had not. But he was shopping at the Bass Pro Shop in Springfield, Missouri, and over the loudspeaker, an announcement came over to contact your congressman about this proposed fishing ban and go to this website to get more information about it. And I thought, there's no way.
This sounds just too preposterous.
Well, I know, absolutely. So I called Bass Pro Shop, and absolutely, I mean, they said this thing is in the works. And so we started talking a little bit about it back in December. It's died down a little bit, but there's some more news. I've heard some of the national news people talking about it. Laura Ingraham has a radio show, popular radio show. She was talking about it this week. I've heard Rush Limbaugh mentioned a little bit of it at the end of one of his shows. So I don't know. It's a very confusing issue. Rod's got some new news. ESPN got involved with this last week, and they reported more on this proposed ban. I think it all stemmed from a group that was put together to study the effects of overfishing on our oceans, the oceans and the Great Lakes. And from what some of the opponents of this thing have said, there could be a possible ban on fishing due to overharvesting on those waters, but it could also include any water that feeds as a tributary into the Great Lakes or the oceans. Well, that pretty much encompasses all of our waters throughout the entire country. So there's been some concern that we're going to lose our fishing rights. And, not only would that be a bad deal just because we can't fish, but it would just destroy a part of our economy. I think there's over 1 million jobs in the fishing industry, and it would have a devastating impact on our economy. But, Rod, you found out a little bit more about it, didn't you?
Well, they've got I guess what ESPN did is they kind of backpedaled a little bit today, or maybe it was today or yesterday, and they kind of said that, this is more of an opinion of what may happen than an actual fact. So I started digging around and researching. I don't know what site it was, but I actually got to read the whole, from the office of the President of the United States, the whole article on what's laying on the table. And from what I could gather, I only got through about the first 25 pages before I bored myself to death. But they're trying to protect, and I know it's protecting from oil drilling, and I know they're trying to protect the ecosystem and try to monitor and control overfishing and stuff like that. And I think it's just kind of got blown out of proportion. But in effect, if the government if this act does govern the waters, then ultimately, yes, it could move in upstream and right into, your neighborhood lakes and ponds if they really wanted to go this route. There's just been a lot of back and forth, but I haven't seen anything concrete yet that would really make me worry. It is something I think if anybody's concerned at all, they should look it up and do the research. And if you have a voice and want to call a congressman or something like that, by all means do so.
Yeah, voice your concerns. Make sure that they understand that we don't want anything happening that could take away any of our freedoms to fish or hunt, for that matter.
I think what I'd like to see now is there's been enough blown up about this, and it's been, from coast to coast, they're talking about it on the air. I think now would be a good time for maybe an explanation or, kind of somebody to explain this, exactly what it is in more details, because it's really getting a lot of attention now and getting more and more negative attention.
Right. Did you guys hear about the story about the teacher that got mauled to death by wolves up in Alaska?
Yes, we did.
Do you have that story?
I don't have the story. I read the story today, though.
The teacher was out jogging?
Yeah, jogging in Alaska, and the Conservation Department is now, or they have been and still are, trying to track down this pack of wolves. And they said, the last I heard is they're waiting for the next fresh snow so they can get fresher tracks to really track this band down. And we talked recently about wolf hunting and the pros and cons, and lo and behold, somebody gets just attacked and killed.
Minnesota's having a problem. Minnesota and Wisconsin, Michigan, they estimate over 3,000 wolves in Minnesota now. And they're killing livestock and pets. They say that they should only have 1,200 wolves in Minnesota. They're way over that. And they passed that many years ago. So that's turning into a big problem in the north as well.
Yeah, and it needs to be addressed, and you got to understand that hunters are part of the ecosystem and part of the balance. And if things are getting imbalanced and we need to back off, we're the first ones to jump on board and say, cool.
Give money and a helping hand. We'll figure it out. Anyway, we got to take another break. We'll come back, wrap this show up. You're listening to the American Outdoorsman.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You're back with the American Outdoorsman radio show.
That'll get your attention.
I'm just in that Tony kind of mood.
You actually thought that out.
Wow.
No, I didn't. I had something else, and I couldn't remember what it was.
Mark, our producer, is insane.
That's a scary thing right there, boys.
Anyway, we are wrapping up the American Outdoorsman.
After that, we are.
Yes. Let me ask something real quick. I know we don't have much time, but we're just getting ready to start the turkey season in a lot of places around the country. Now, Rod, you being a chef by trade, do you have any suggestions for those fellow hunters that may be bringing a wild turkey to the table?
Well, you know what? My two favorite ways still, and they've been this way for years, is beer batter, turn the turkey breast into kind of like chicken fingers, and a good beer batter and a good fried turkey tender is awesome. And then for the past 6 or 7 years, inject it, rub it, smoke it.
What are you talking about?
We're still talking turkey, right?
Oh, you said inject it, rub
Actually,
it.
you tried the turkey last year.
It was incredible. Just do not overcook it.
Right. Yeah.
That's one thing people have a tendency to do with wild game is cook it too long and it gets tough.
Wild game is much leaner and not injected with all the salines and blown up, filled with water and chemicals like everything we buy at the store.
Did you hear about this? This is a sad story. 93-year-old lady and her husband died. And being despondent over the death, she decided she was going to commit suicide so she could be with him. So she took her husband's old army gun and was going to kill herself with that. Thought she'd shoot herself right in the heart because her heart was broken anyway. So she called the doctor because she didn't want to make a bad shot and be a burden on anybody else being a paraplegic or injured or anything like that. So called the doctor to find out exactly where her heart is. And the doctor said, well, on a woman, it's right underneath your left breast. Well, that night she was admitted to the hospital with a gunshot wound to her knee.
Okay. You know, on the Pursuit Channel this week on Thursday night, Steve Bailey's going to be hunting the land rocket pronghorn antelope, and there is a shot that he makes on that. That is
you say land rocket? They're quick critters, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they'll do over 60. Some of them.
Wow.
In a burst. I mean, yeah, that's pretty quick.
That'd be interesting. Pursuit Channel.
Yes. And
American Outdoorsman.
And our affiliates are going to continue their three-parter with Mark Tobin in Montana fly fishing.
Right. Yeah, beautiful scenery.
You and Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Kurtz, K&K Fly Fishing Supply. Check that out.
Absolutely.
Fantastic place. One of the best places in the world to go trout fishing. Stunning. Montana is just a beautiful place.
Amazing.
You watch yourself on TV, don't you?
Heck, no, I don't. I never do. No.
You've been listening to the American Outdoorsman Radio Show. I'm Scott Bethel, and with me is
Mark Tobin,
Rod Clark,
and you are the American Outdoorsman.
So long, everybody.